was telling my girlfriend goodbye, and she was crying and raising an awful fuss, while the county sheriff and all them men from the draft board is chaining me on a bus. They said they're sending me to a camp for training, and they did too, boy. I trained around the clock. And when I got through with all that training, me and a bunch of other fellers was waiting down on a big old long dock. They said we was waiting for a ship, and pretty soon it come. And I asked our captain, I says, Captain, where in the world are we going? And he said, Vietnam. I told him, now just a minute, Captain. You know, over there, they shooting at one another. And I ain't mad enough to shoot at nobody, except maybe it's my girlfriend's old mother. Well, it wasn't long till we got to Vietnam. And you know, over there, things as peaceful as could be. Till I walked out there in all them tall weeds and some doggone smart aleck shot at me. That evening I was out there by our camp and I lit a cigarette. And I throwed the match down on the ground because I thought that grass was wet. But you know, that grass started to burning and the flames started to jump, and that doggone little old grass fire spread out there and blowed up our whole ammunition dump. The captain put me to guarding the prisoners of war. There's out there in a big old barbed wire pen, and them poor fellers are just stuffed in there like sardines in a can. Well, I knowed the captain might get peeved at me, and he might even cook my goose. But I got to feeling sorry for all them fellers, and I just turned them all loose. That night I was out there in a foxhole, and some doggone idiot threw a piece of round iron at me, and I took it to the captain. I wanted him to see. When I showed that piece of round iron to that captain, boy, he got bug-eyed and got up and went. And when he started running, he hollered, "Throw it! That's a live hand grenade!" And I did, over my shoulder, and blowed up our headquarters tent. Well, then the captain told me he wanted to talk to me, and so we sat down on the ground, and he told me, "Boy, I'm going to send you back to the United States, because even in the middle of a war, you too dangerous to have around." So he got me ready to come back, and he sent a letter by me, and that letter was addressed to the Pentagon way up there in Washington, D.C. Well, I sneaked a peep at that letter, and I'll tell you, I didn't like the way that letter read, because that captain is talking about me in that letter. This is what it said. "Dear Mr. Secretary of Defense, if all you draftees are like this one, I'd suggest you keep them at home, because the one I'm sending back to you today didn't even know what side he's supposed to be fighting on. Now, Mr. Secretary, you know we need good men over here. We need replacements every day. But if all you're going to send is like this one, I'm just going to go ahead and surrender, because we can't win this war anyway." Signed by my captain. Well, I'm back in those States, and I'm a veteran from Vietnam, just as proud as I can be. But you know, friends, I wasn't gone very long. There wasn't many people ever did miss me. Now I'm down here in the camp in Georgia, and you know Army life ain't so bad. I may not be one of them fighting soldiers, but I'm the best doggone KP this old Army ever had. The other night I was out with my girlfriend while my wife was supposed to be home. Now, you know, when you're out with your girlfriend, you don't take your wife along. We was down in the bar room, boy, just a-having us a time, and I heard a growl behind me, and it's that big old wife of mine. I said, "Son of a gun, hon, where'd you come from?" Well, my wife was standing there swinging a board just like a baseball bat. That old girl climbed out of that booth and took off like a turpentine cat. My wife kept swinging that big old board, boy, she's a really parting my hair. When that old girl went through the front door, she heard me yell at her. I said, "I'll see you later, honey, when I get out of the hospital." Called my wife the other night, told her I'd be working late. I met a little girl the night before, and we had a date at 8. We was down on a park bench, boy, and I was really feeding that old girl a line. Heard a growl behind me. It's that big old wife of mine. I said, "Son of a gun, hon, where'd you come from?" I know there's gonna be a killing right there in that park. My wife swung her big old purse, and boy, things started getting dark. She kept swinging that big old purse. I'll swear she was trying to kill me. The last thing I saw before the lights went out, that old girl climbing a tree. I said, "See you later, baby, when I get my neck out of the brace." away from my wife's wrath, I was traveling on the other side of town, off the beaten path. Pulled into a supermarket to get us a little jug of wine. When I walked back on that parking lot, there stood that big old wife of mine. I said, son of a gun, hon, where'd you come from? Well, my wife started climbing in that car, and that old girl started bailing out. I stared my mouth wide open, trying to figure what it's all about. My wife turned that car around and headed it straight my way. Just before the blinding crash, that old girl heard me say, I said, see you, honey, when I can walk again. Down on the beach the other day, and I run on a girl I'd known before. We got talking it over, and she said she wanted to see me some more. Well, we were sitting there really having us a time. And about that time, I heard a war whoop behind me, that big old wife of mine. I said, son of a gun, hon, where'd you come from? The wife picked up a wooden chair, and she really started in. Every time she'd bring it down, she'd get about a pound of skin. That old girl, she cut out, she wasn't about to stay. But I hope she heard me when I hollered, 'cause she's about a mile away. I said, I'll see you, honey, when the divorce is final, 'cause I've had about all of this I can stand.